Welcome to Obsession Engineering. It's the end of 2023, so I thought I'd have a look back at the high points of the year and have a little look forward as to what's going to be happening in 2024. So I am a bit of a geek, and to be fair, if you're watching this, you're probably a little bit of a geek as well. And so instead of just rambling my way through the story of what's happened this year, I'm going to add some facts and figures, and then ramble through what's happened in the year as well. When it comes to facts and figures, the Isle of Man TT is excellent for pub trivia, and this was my last TT, and so I feel it's time to reminisce about some of the good times. 2007 was my debut at the TT. It was Centenary TT, and I lined up on the start line with John McGuinness in the Superbike race, and it was my first ever road race. I hadn't done the North West or Scarborough or anything. I went straight to TT, which was a bit of an eye-opener if I'm honest. In my first year I lapped at about 113 mile an hour on a ZX10 and didn't crash into anything, which was excellent. For the next 15 TTs in a row I didn't miss one. In fact, COVID was the only reason I stopped going back at all. But all good things must come to an end, and this year was my last TT, so we're going to chuck in some facts and figures for it. In total, at the TT, not including Classic TT and Manx Grand Prix races, I've had 66 starts, 57 finishes, 43 bronze replicas, a few DNFs because it's the TT, and at a conservative estimate, totting up practice laps and race laps, I've done approximately 21,430 miles around the TT mountain course just during TT. If you put in some classic events on stuff, you can add another 2,700 miles to that. So it's fair to say I do know my way around by now. Overall, I am actually joined 16th on the all-time highest finishes. Unfortunately, I haven't got a single result that tops 16th, but this year, in the Super Twin Race 1, which was my last race, I finished 17th, which was actually my highest ever TT finish. It wasn't my fastest though. On the Twin, I lapped at 112.2 miles an hour. If I put all my best sectors together, it was 113.5. Down Sulby Straight, I clocked 147.7 miles per hour on my mighty little Aprilia Super Twin that was making 109 horsepower on the dyno at TT, which is quite respectable. This year, my fastest lap was 121.87 in the Superstock race on my BMW. That speed trapped at 177.6 miles an hour, but my fastest ever lap was the last lap of the senior year in 2019, where I lapped 123.1 miles an hour. And that, it turns out, is relatively brisk, but not enough to worry Peter Hickman. And my final Isle of Man fact: the fastest speed I recorded this year on a road bike, legally, up the mountain mile with open traffic, was 158 miles an hour. I mean, it's quite naughty, so you probably shouldn't do it, but it is also quite good fun. I also went back to the Northwest 200 this year for the first time in 13 years. Riding around the Northwest 200 circuit was excellent fun. The organisation behind the event was pretty poor though, if I'm going to be polite about it, and there's a lot of complaints that racing gets expensive. When you have to buy control fuel at £3.62 a litre, that does add an element of expense, if I can speak properly, and especially being you'd think it'd be good for the local economy if we went to the petrol station around the corner and bought petrol of equal quality for less than half the price. Not sure who's winning out of this control fuel gig. Next thing is BSB, which, let's face it, has been quite an eye-opening year for us. So the first number regarding BSB is going to be the number 1, because at round 1 of Superstock this year, Franco finished second, and then he finished first. So we left Silverstone at round 1 of BSB leading the championship, with a team and a rider who hadn't done Superstock before. I think it's fair to say a few people were beginning to pay attention after that. We were on the podium again at On Park at the next round, and later in the year we even won another race with Tim Neve. So our bike won 2 races that year with 2 riders. I'm not sure anybody else has managed that this year either. So even though P1 is obviously the best, Actually, it might not be our best result of the year, because at Donington Park, in the Superbike class at the end of the season, we finished 6th. Admittedly, in slightly iffy conditions, but they just go to show how good Franco really is, how smooth he is, and what a master of the wet that boy can be. So P6, on our team debut at Donington Park in the Pathway class, awesome. Against full-blown superbikes, Franco Born definitely made a name for himself. Because Franco got borrowed for the official Honda Superbike team for several rounds during the year, he actually finished the championship in 20th place with 30 points. More than half of those were actually scored on our Pathway bike. At the final BSB meeting at Brands Hatch, Franco didn't actually score any points, but he did do a fastest lap 1.2 seconds behind Tommy Bridewell. And on a piece of paper over there, I have a few facts and figures from his fastest lap in qualifying. Obviously, if I was really organised, I would have actually memorised all this, or printed it out bigger so I could see it. Don't really do scripting very often, but there's too many numbers today, so I had to. Right. To do a 1 minute 28.566 lap of Brands GP, Franco did a top speed of 169.3 miles an hour down the back straight towards Hawthorne Bend. He then brakes from 169 to 90 miles an hour in 3.2 seconds. To do that, he had to pull a maximum brake pressure of 17 bar, and he buried the forks 3.8 millimetres into the bump stop. Now that, I will admit, isn't particularly normal, but the back straight at Brands Hatch has a hill at the end of it, so you brake into the hill and you can hammer the brake really, really hard. After getting off the brake, it took him half a second to get back onto the throttle. And in Franco terms, that's actually a long time, because at some corners, he has the throttle open before he's actually finished braking. It's fair to say that boy is quite good at riding a motorbike. Annoyingly. Maximum lean angle on that lap was 64.6 degrees through the slightly banked Stirling corner. And when Franco exited the last corner onto the start-finish straight, he gets to 100% throttle while he's still got 35.6 degrees of lean angle on. So if you think you're going fast on a track day, I can promise you, you're not doing that. I will be looking more in depth at some of Franco's riding during 2024, comparing the data logger to what Franco's actually doing on the bike and seeing what we can actually learn from that. And that ties in nicely to our new association with Rapid. So Rapid is the country's leading advanced rider coaching company. So if you want to be able to ride better on road or on track, check out rapidtraining.co.uk. Conveniently, Rapid are also running tours to the Isle of Man next year, and at the time of recording there is a couple of places still left on our September tour. So if you want to come to the Isle of Man, get shown around by me, then book on at rapidtraining.co.uk. So now we've got the facts and figures for my racing and the team's racing out the way, it's time to look at what happened when I went on holiday. Lake Bonneville used to cover 20,000 square miles and was up to 300 metres deep. Unfortunately this year it was about an inch deep, and that was enough to cancel the Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials 2023. The fastest speed ever recorded at the Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials is 367.38 miles per hour. One day I am going to go and have a go at trying to go somewhere close to that on my mate Dustin's ridiculous 500 plus horsepower Triumph Rocket 3. And if you want to see the details of that bike, check out the Beast of Bonneville video. It is quite a creation, that bike. But I'm not one to waste an opportunity, and so while I was in Salt Lake City, I decided to rent myself a motorcycle and go exploring. So I rode from Salt Lake City down into Bisbee, Arizona to visit my mate Jay and Dustin. That trip was 2,200 miles and took in some epic canyon roads and mountain roads, and because America, quite a lot of straight roads. And I could tot up the cost of what every mile of that cost me. But sometimes it's better to ignore the numbers and just stare out and enjoy the scenery, because sometimes life is too short and you really ought to just go and look at things. Because the world sometimes is a spectacular place. If you ever get the chance to go to Monument Valley, just go and do it. You may have seen pictures, trust me, it is better in real life. And sometimes you've just got to go and do things because you get the chance. And that leads me on to, really, my most important thing from 2023. On the longest day of the year, 2023, I took part in the longest day challenge, and I rode a £300 Honda DeVille with 152,000 miles on it, and 4 gears that still worked, all the way from Land's End to John O'Groats. It took me 972 miles, because we weren't using motorways, and took me, admittedly, slightly over a day. 25.5 hours it took me. By the end of it, I had had enough of the DeVille, that is for certain. The whole reason for doing the longest day challenge was to raise money for Cancer Research UK, and I had a bit of an epiphany. As the sun was rising just north of Inverness, I had a moment when I realised that actually having the chance to see the sun rising on a new day was absolutely worth it, whether you're on a DeVille or not. Not everybody gets that chance, and a big number is because of cancer. And so anything we can do to fight cancer should be applauded, and the people at Cancer Research UK are doing an incredible job. Now, I would like to thank everybody who put some money into my efforts this year. Including the gift aid, I raised £16,368.75. The longest day challenge in total raised £102,288 and a penny, because every little helps. There is still chance to give money to Cancer Research UK. You can go on and just give the money anywhere. I don't care if it comes through me. Don't get me wrong, I like winning the challenge because life is a competition, but really this is about fighting cancer, and it's bigger than just me. I will put a link in the description and one up in the corner. If cancer has ever affected you, please dig deep, chuck some money in the pot. These people are actually fighting cancer and helping people to live longer. And that's about it for 2023, but there are of course a few things we should mention for 2024, because that is going to be a busy year. The biggest thing on the calendar for me is going to BSB. We are doing a full year of superbikes as Rapid Honda, with Franco Born at the helm of a full-spec Honda Fireblade superbike. We will be covering a lot of the details of the bikes here in the workshop, and I'll be covering as much as I can at the race meetings. It's basically the same Marvel HCL Motorsports team you're used to, but now we're in association with Rapid. I am actually joining Rapid and doing a lot more work with them in 2024, and so we'll have a direct link from the Superbike team and what we're learning on track to what we're feeding into the courses on track and on road. And so that's quite exciting, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to getting going on it. But don't worry, the workshop will still be active. There will be another body in here doing some of the work with me, and that means I get to do more projects, including tarting around with my SP1. It is finally actually on a bench, so soon I will be definitely doing some work on it. Promise. We started this review talking about the Isle of Man TT, and we're going to finish talking about the TT as well. I absolutely love the TT and the Isle of Man. It is, for me, the absolute pinnacle of going fast on a motorcycle. I'm not going to be riding there, but I am hoping to be there on the spanners helping somebody else to go fast. We don't yet have details of who's going to be on one of our bikes, but I'm sure at some point I'll have a spanner in my hand and a laptop and probably some grey hairs. But I'm sure it'll all be worth it. So thank you for watching, stay tuned for more projects, more racing, and of course, more motorbike fun. Happy New Year.